Hi, and welcome to the channel. I'm Abberjam, I'll be your host for this video. And today I'm just checking out the Hunter Call of the Wild. I've never played a hunting sim before, but I've heard very good things about it on the YouTube and whatnot. And I figured it was probably about time I had a game that was a little more involved, a little more kind of relaxing, slower paced and more methodical and deliberate, and take a break from the frenetic action of first-person shooters and the intense hard work of raising dinos and hunting dinos in Ark. So, this is Hunter Call of the Wild. This is a game made by Avalanche Studios, who also made Just Cause. And first thing I gotta say is, just look at this world. I mean, their pedigree in open world design is really showing. This whole map is just so authentic and beautiful and so well recreated. It's probably one of the, if not the most realistic in-game worlds I've seen in terms of the environment. It looks, I mean, I grew up in the countryside, and this is indistinguishable. I mean, not in terms of resolution or direct realism, but just in terms of the design and the way things are placed, and just the flowers and just the foliage. It's just, it just looks gorgeous, and it's the perfect setting for hunting wildlife. Now, this is not my very first impression. I have played for about an hour because I heard there's quite a lot of stuff involved early game, lots of things to learn and pick up, and I've done my first hunt mission and got used to some of the controls and some of the mechanics. So I did one mission and I did a little bit of freehand hunting. I bagged a couple of small deer, and that's about it. So I played about an hour. And I've set a waypoint for this marker over here. If you look on the map, you'll see there are green markers which indicate curiosities. I've unlocked one or two. One was like a stone cairn, and one was like an unbuilt hunting shack, like a little tower that you can sit in and just watch for wildlife and put out lures and stuff and shoot them in the little opening or the little clearing nearby. So we're gonna head off to this curiosity here, find out what it is, and hopefully on the way we'll pick up some wildlife and maybe bag one or two kills. There's a track right here, so it's a good start. Well, that's the direction I was just hunting in, so that may well be the old track from something I was hunting earlier. So let's just push forward. Another thing that's really impressed me in this game is the subtlety of the weather. It's constantly changing, like it does in real life. If you grew up in northern England like me, you'd know how schizophrenic the weather can be at times. It'll be gorgeous sun, and then within 2 minutes it'll change to overcast and windy like it's doing now. It's just subtle changes, just the shadow, you know, the shadow of the clouds is just getting darker. There's a little light patch over here and it's darker over there, and just, I'm so impressed with the whole environment, the whole design. That's the same track. It's just, yeah, I'm totally blown away by the environmental design of this game. It's fantastic. Okay, so there's some footprints over here. This is a roe deer. So let's see what we can find over in this direction. One viewer already, that's good. Welcome, one viewer. So currently we don't need to be too quiet because we're not near enough to startle the game just yet. There we go. Things can get a little confusing because sometimes you'll find multiple tracks in one area, or you'll find that I imagine just like in real life, the wildlife does actually kind of go around in circles a bit and cross its own path multiple times, and so you do have to keep your wits about you and really try and keep a good bearing on where you're going and where your prey has been going. I thought at first watching videos of it that this whole marker system seemed a little unrealistic. I mean, if you're doing this in real life, you wouldn't have markers pointing the way. You'd have to look for broken branches and footprints in the soil and stuff like that. And this is what this sort of emulates, is the footprints in the soil. Just makes it a little bit easier in terms of playing a video game. But I thought it might make life a little too easy, but having hunted a few animals, I can tell you it very quickly becomes apparent that it doesn't really make it all that much easier, because you can confuse one track with another, and particularly if you've got an animal that you've wounded that's bleeding, it can become really quite difficult to track down where the bleeding pattern is leading. It's very easy to lose the track of the blood. And you know, see, every time I find a track to examine, up in the top right corner it'll tell me who's made it and what they were doing. So you see there's a roe deer that was trotting, and this looks like maybe something laid down here at some point. And that is a deliberate game mechanic as well. You get like little nests or little beds where things have laid down. So that's old droppings, so we're still nowhere near really. So I slow down to a walk here. You see, I've got a track here and a track there, so it's hard to know which track is which. This could be another deer having come across the path of the deer that we're tracking. There's another one. Or it may be the same one that's come around in a circle. You can see what I mean about how it's not just, you know, it's not just a linear follow the path kind of deal. You do have to try and distinguish one set of tracks from another. Let's try up over here and find some sort of continuity in the direction of the flow. I mean, this is, oh, there we go. That's an animal call. Oh, I missed that because I was standing on the track. Let's head for that. I'm guessing that's probably our man, or our deer. Oh, it's all heading back into the woods here, so I don't know. Here we go. And the cone of the directional cone only gives you a very, very rough idea. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, the tracks won't necessarily fall within the width of that cone. I mean, they could be all the way up over there. So it's really, at this point, at this kind of skill level, the cone's only really telling you whether it's in front of you or behind you, and maybe to some degree whether it went to the left or the right, but it's a very, very broad kind of indication. But you can increase your tracking skill as time goes on and make that cone narrower and more accurate. Oh, there we go. That's a warning call. Let's just see if I can find him out in the open. Let's get the albino peculiars out. No, that's the lure. There's a bird feeder. It's just a little attention. There we go. Hello. This thing here, this spot animal, that's a little bit unrealistic, but I suppose you could choose not to highlight the animal. But since I'm a beginner, I'm gonna derp it. I'm gonna find a nice clean spot to go prone. It's a different. Oh, there's two now. And then there's a third one over there making his calls somewhere. So, oh, get off the track. There we go. going to try and get a heart shot. It's kind of difficult to see with the foliage in the way. Where was that go? Okay, that's a much cleaner shot. We'll go for that one. And the heart, I believe, is just at the top of the front thighs, in between the front legs. Oh, hey up. You'd be an easy kill. So that's one. The other two are scarpered by the look of it. So I kind of copped out there, but I'm not quite sure how the group mechanic works yet. I've only ever tracked single deer, so I don't know if he would have startled the other two anyway. If he'd seen me, he might have legged it, and then the other two would have legged it as well. So, you know, bird in the hand and all that. We've still got a we've got a mating call going on over there. So we may go and have a little look at that in a minute. This is our trophy. And this is our info page. It tells us exactly what kind of shot we got. So if we look up in the top right, you got your weapon info. Ranger 243 using a soft point bullet, a distance of 7.26 meters. And then underneath that, it tells us the kind of wound we inflicted. It was a flesh, left scapula, and left lung, 100% kill. So it was an instant kill. And then on the left, you got the information about the animal, what kind of gender it was, and what kind of, you know, how common it is and stuff like that. And then in the middle, obviously, we've got the bullet trajectory, which seems a little inaccurate to me because that looks like it's coming down, whereas we were quite clearly shooting upwards from the prone position. And then damage inflicted. So yeah, so far I'm finding it a very very satisfying, very enjoyable experience. It hasn't all been quite that quick. I mean, that was, what, about 10 minutes hunting that thing down, and didn't even find the one we were tracking. We just happened across a couple of wandering deer, but we still got the kill. So I'm sure there will be instances further up the line where I'm stuck to the ground now for some reason. Let's put the gun away. There we go. A little bit of a glitch there, I think. It might be to do with holding a weapon and then entering the trophy menu. So this is a hunting hide as well. It's a bill cost of €2,100. We've only got 2,500, and I'm saving that. I want to save that up. So we won't build that just yet. However, it should be marked on the map. Yeah, it's marked on the map now. So we can come back and build that later when we've got a bit more money. Also, this is quite handy. When you spot an animal, like I did earlier with the square button, it will put it on the map. So if you, say for instance, you get a shot in from half a kilometre or a kilometre away, if it's not an instant kill and the animal runs off, it at least gives you a starting point for tracking, because it's not always easy to gauge exactly where the animal was from a mile away. By the time you climb down from your vantage point and run across the marsh or whatever, it's kind of easy to lose your bearings. So it's good to have a starting point to follow the blood trail from if it's not an instant kill. Yeah, we've got Mr. Mating calls up here. Now this is what I was talking about. This is like a little where someone's laid down. This is a rest zone. Now, rest zones, from what I gather, just reading some of the codex information, these are kind of permanent places where animals will come to rest. I think there are places where they, come to water to drink, stuff like that. And there are also what are called need zones. These are places where animals come to feed on a regular basis. So there are little sort of hotspots where you can go and probably have a higher percentage of finding your quarry. So let's see if we can find this dude up here and get rid of the waypoint. Ignore that, that's just going to take us back where we came from. Let's just take the lure out, see if we can get a reaction. Just as a side note, by the way, I'm playing this on my PSVR. It's not a VR game, but I'm using the big screen app on the PSVR, so it's like playing on a cinema screen basically, which really does add to the experience. If you have a PSVR, I highly recommend using it as a main screen. It's a good alternative to TV, although the quality is not quite as high as it would be on, you know, a 1080p. Certainly not as high as it would be on a 4K TV, but it's very, very passable. I thoroughly enjoy watching movies on my PSVR and using it as my main kind of screen, really. The only downside is that it can be a little difficult to read particularly small text, but most text renders very readable. But it's a great experience. It's just like sitting in a cinema and playing your games on the cinema screen. Oh, there we go. You're moving around, aren't you, sir? So I have a feeling this might be your track. Got some drop-ins here. Just now. So he's definitely nearby. It can also be a little bit misleading. That deer sounds like quite a large one, but chances are it's quite small. They seem to have fairly deep voices even when they're fairly small animals. So again, there's a lot of potential for confusion here. There's so many tracks and they're not necessarily all going to be from the same animal or part of the same path. Let's try this one. See if we get any kind of reaction. We're sort of going in circles here, but that's not necessarily the wrong thing. As I say, much as I imagine they do in real life, the animals in this game do seem to go in circles quite often and just sort of inhabit one particular area and kind of patrol it and whatnot, looking for food and whatever else they do. Well, we seem to have lost that one, so what we will do is we'll go to our next point of interest and again hopefully find something along the way to hunt. So let's get that waypoint up and get going. I'm assuming that in the compass in the bottom right, the green cone is showing the wind direction, although there doesn't seem to be any indication of the speed of the wind. I don't think the I think that was a fox. Yeah, red fox. Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think the weapon ballistics are quite as simulated or quite as realistic as in something like, say, Sniper Elite or Sniper Ghost Warrior. I'm unsure at this point as to whether there's any bullet drop or whether it's just the fact that the other games exaggerate those dynamics more than you find in real life. It may just be that bullets are just a lot faster and straighter in real life than I'm used to in these sort of ballistics driven video games. So we'll have to see, but so far I'm finding, even at a reasonable range, you know, a few hundred meters, pretty much the bullets going straight to the middle of the crosshairs. So it remains to be seen, maybe further in the game when I've got higher powered rifles with longer scopes and I'm making or trying to make shots from, you know, a kilometre away, for example. Perhaps then there'll be evidence of some bullet drop, but currently I'm finding it's pretty much just a straight shot to wherever you're aiming. That's a roe deer, that's not our fox. And where's he going? Going back that way. Well, we want someone that's heading towards our waypoint, so I'll keep on keeping on. Well, what happened here? Bit of a forest fire by all accounts, or something. Where are those tracks? Are there? I'm not going to go looking for a fox right now. I'm going to concentrate on the larger game, something a bit easier to hit because I'm a complete noob. And probably an awful shot. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I mean, the environment is just, it's breathtaking. I mean, look at it. It's so dense, and there doesn't appear to be any popping that I can see. Oh, hey up. That wasn't me. Yeah, it just seems to be, the graphics just seem to be very consistent. No fade-ins or pop-ups or anything like that. It just seems to really just work. That was me. I thought maybe that was the sound of a fox or something. Still making a lot of noise considering that I'm crouching. I'm led to believe this is 50 square kilometers, so it's probably 7 by 7, roughly. Mating call. That's a fallow deer, so that's going to be a bigger deer. I'll maybe see if we can find him. Yeah, 7 by 7 square kilometers, so plenty of space to be hunting in and looking for animals. There are in fact 2 maps that you can choose from. This, I think, is the vanilla map. Second map, I believe, it's a little bit more varied in terms of wildlife and a little bit more. It's a little higher. The wildlife traffic is a bit higher. But I have to say, it's not been too sparse here. Some of the instructional videos I've been watching would lead you to believe that you could go maybe an hour or so without seeing anything at all. But so far, I've found that, you know, just do a bit of wandering, you'll see something within 10 minutes or so, even if it's not the animal you're looking for. And certainly there's plenty of vocal action. There's always something around, just, you know, by the evidence of all the mating calls and warning calls and whatnot. Let's see, what's this? very old, but it's our man that was shouting over there, so we'll keep on keeping on. You're heading that way. You're heading that way, so I'm guessing that's our man and he's heading this direction. There we go. So again, this is fallow deer. So it may be two, or it may be the same one. Trying to run us in circles a little bit. Oh my goodness, that made me jump. So we could go down there. Well, I'm thinking this is where he was headed originally. So, the binoculars. No immediate sign. Now, one of the reasons I probably shouldn't be playing a game like this is I'm terrible at spotting things. I have horrible visual acuity. I might be panning right over it and not even noticing. Thought that was an antler sticking out behind that tree there. Alright, let's keep tracking. Like, little details like this, I mean, I see stuff like this all the time living in the country, just broken down, knackered old tri-stone walls. So much attention to detail in the environment. It really is. And now we just have a whole slew of tracks to choose from. So that's another rest zone discovered, so we know this is going to be an area where animals will frequent more often. Not a guaranteed kill zone, but definitely going to raise our chances of finding something. So let's stick with this track. So that, I mean, it's some dude randomly cranking up his petrol-driven saw in the background. I heard planes going over, like really, really distant, almost imperceivable planes going overhead very early on in the game, and I had to take my earphones out and check if it wasn't one flying over my actual house, and it wasn't. It's just incredible. The detail is just incredible. Avalanche really have gone to town on creating an immersive and believable environment for the hunt. They really, really have. And I completely applaud them for it. Little resting spots everywhere. I'm not sure what that timer is up there, the 0500. I'm guessing that's maybe the time of day when they rest here. Perhaps, or maybe an indicator of what time we can come back. You have outposts dotted around the map, and you can use them as fast travel and also as resting spots to fast forward the passage of time. This is very fresh, so he's certainly in the area somewhere. So yeah, I mean, if we go to the codex, and we go down to the wildlife, you can pick any one of the animals that are available on the map, and it'll tell you. For instance, the fallow deer, we got information about its behavior and its habitat, when it's active during dawn and dusk, so you know, 5 a.m. would suggest that maybe, you know, they rest here during the night and then they get up at 5 and start wandering about. So that might be a good time to get over here and see if there's anything that's been resting here between dusk and dawn. There's so much information here as well that you can just read up on and spot up on. So it's, you know, it's pretty detailed. Oh my goodness, hello. How did I not spot 3 of you all at once? Alright, I'm not gonna be cheap. I'm not gonna cheat here. I'm gonna go for the furthest shot. Once I find my... I wish there was just one button for finding the rifle rather than having to go through all the equipment. Hello. We haven't gotten one with antlers before, so... I'm not going to use the spotting mechanic this time. Come on, slow down, mate. That was hopefully a heart shot. Nope, he's bleeding. Well, now we have the tough job of tracking him from his blood. There's no first... Oh yeah, because I didn't use the spotting mechanic, did I? So let's get over there and see if we can find his blood tracks. I haven't figured out yet if it's any faster running without your rifle equipped. I don't think it is any faster. There we go. So there's his blood spot. Oh, that's quite a heavy one, so he should be bleeding pretty heavily. It's nice and easy tracking blood spatter out in the wild, but once out in the open, but once you get to the into the trees, it gets a little more difficult, I think, especially with having so many other deer around at the same time. There could be some cause for confusion. There you are. Didn't get far then. So that was... I wasn't far off his heart, but well, it was pretty much stopped by his femur, or his humerus I should say. 99% kill shot, so almost instant but not quite. There's his heart. It's just... So I was a little bit on the high, so you can just about see his heart there, resting behind his lung, between his front legs, and I was a little bit on the high side. Really, to get a good clean shot at the heart, you need to come directly from in front and just go straight between where the legs meet the body, pretty much. But all in all, pretty good clean kill, I think. So, where are we sitting now with the monies? Bum, 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 bum. I don't think it's listing my money on this screen, so we'll come out of here. Accept that. 3,535, I think that says. We're looking to get up to 6,000, and then I can buy a better scope, long range scope, or maybe a jackrabbit lure to get some carnivores, luring some carnivores like the coyote and whatnot, and the fox. Okay, so what I gathered from that is make a kill and then move on, because once you make a kill, animals are going to avoid that area for a considerable time. Makes sense. So let's get up here. We've got another, looks like another hunting tower. Yep. And this is a particularly good vantage point. That down there, that's where we saw all those deers with all the resting places. So I think this is going to be a particularly effective. I'm being stalked by something. A particularly effective hunting position, sitting up in the hide and bagging some kills in this little pasture down there. So yeah, I guess we'll call that a wrap for this particular broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Found it entertaining and informative, as always. I'm really liking this game. It's definitely a more relaxing game, but also one that involves, some attention and a little bit of focus. But it's not so frenetic, so it's a good break away from the norm. And I'm really looking forward to putting a lot more hours into it. So there we have it. That's my first impression of The Hunter, Call of the Wild. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Abberjam, and I'll catch you on the flip side.